Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Rocksmith. To be clear, I'm talking about the first version of Rocksmith. There's also a sequel called Rocksmith 2014, which I did not play. If you've never heard of Rocksmith before, I guess the elevator pitch would be it's Guitar Hero but with a real guitar. So you get like a special cable that is like if you were connecting your electric guitar to an amp, but on the other end it is a USB port, and you just plug that right into your PC or your gaming console, and it will register the notes that you play on your electric guitar. So as you can imagine, it's kind of a high barrier of entry if you do want to get into Rocksmith, because one, you're gonna need an electric guitar, two, you're gonna need the special cable to connect your guitar, and three, you're going to need the actual game. Still, some people may find it more preferable to have an actual instrument lying around that you can play outside of the gaming sphere compared to the plastic instruments that came with Guitar Hero or Rock Band. Now, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I was fairly good with the fake plastic guitar for Guitar Hero and Rock Band. I could play a lot of the songs on Expert, and as you play these games in your head, you're thinking like, man, I'd be so good at playing the actual guitar. If I'm this good on Guitar Hero, I mean, like, I know it'll be harder, but how much harder could it actually be? Well, it turns out it's a lot more difficult than you would think. For the past year or so, I've kind of been picking up the guitar again. Like, I've had an acoustic and electric lying around in the basement, from my childhood when I thought I was going to be a rock star guitar prodigy. And so, over the last year, I decided to pick it up again and start practicing, just playing little ditties, just as like a little hobby. So when Rocksmith came onto my radar, I'm like, yeah, that'd be kind of fun, combining my gaming hobbies and my guitar hobbies together. After having played many hours of Rocksmith, I can officially say it's not really a game, quote unquote. It's kind of more trying to teach you how to play guitar in a gamified way. Like, yeah, you're gonna have the whole high score kind of system, but it's more intended to kind of like teach you different guitar techniques and how to play certain chords. It's almost like reading tabs that you would look up online for a guitar song, but playing it in real time with the actual like singer and instruments playing along with the song. So that being said, usually when I do these reviews, I try to at least roll the credits on them before I record my thoughts. I like having like an overall perspective on the game from beginning to end. I usually don't 100% complete them, but at least I like that kind of satisfaction of finishing the game. This game, as far as I can tell, it doesn't really have that single player campaign kind of thing. Instead, it has more of a recommended journey. Like, to be clear, I could potentially just open up the song list, choose a song, one of my favorite songs, and then after choosing a couple other options, I could just be playing any song that's available to me. Unlike something like Guitar Hero, where I would have 5 different songs and I have to get a certain score before I can proceed to the next set of songs. So how the journey works is Rocksmith kind of recommends, I think they base this on the questions that they ask you at the beginning, like how good are you at playing the guitar, and what do you use the guitar for? And then they base your journey around that. But after you answer those questions, it's going to say, cool, I think you should play this song, and this song. And in addition to the songs, it also has other different modes that you can play. So there's different tutorials that will teach you like hammer-ons and pull-offs, and they'll teach you bar chords and bending. And so there'll be unique little challenges where you'll see a video of like a real guy pulling off this guitar technique, and then it kind of teaches you how you go about doing this and why you would want to do this technique, and then it has you practice. As far as I could tell, you don't get any like points or benefits for doing these techniques, but it is nice to know. And so when you encounter a special note when you're playing the song, you know, like, oh, they want me to bend this, or this is a hammer-on. In addition to these tutorials, they also have little mini games for you to also kind of teach you how to play the guitar. Like there's one where you get these ducks that are falling down the frets, and you need to put your finger on the correct fret and strum. And so that kind of helps your hand-eye coordination. So when you see like a note on the 6th fret, you don't necessarily have to like look down at the guitar as often to put your finger on the 6th fret, so it kind of helps you practice that way, but again, it isn't as exciting as playing like along an actual song. So when you are doing your journey and you play these songs, there is like a minimum score requirement that you need to pass off to actually like check off that you can play the song semi-good. And once you check off all the recommended songs for your journey, then you kind of get to do a little concert. And this is just like if you were playing Rock Band or Guitar Hero. You're gonna start off at a really small venue. Like at first maybe you're just playing in some guy's basement, and then as you progress and your ratings go up, then your venues get larger and bigger, and you kind of like level up your reputation. And so you basically play a concert with the different songs that you have shown that you can play. This is all well and good, but it doesn't lend itself to playing for a long amount of time, especially if the recommended songs are songs that you're either not familiar with or you just straight up don't like. Because this means that at minimum, you're going to need to play the boring or the songs you don't like at least twice. Once to pass it off, and once in your giant set that you're playing as a concert. This is especially troublesome if the recommended song list is, 6 or 7 different songs, because one, you have to show that you can play all of these songs, and then you're supposed to play all 6 or 7 of these songs in a giant concert. And this may be different with a different console, but I played this on the PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation 3 does not have an option to go to sleep, and so once you start this concert, you're kind of locked in unless you want to pause and leave the game running. And so it's just kind of like a big time commitment, at least for me. However, if you do successfully meet the score requirement for this concert, the audience will usually have you come up for an encore, and this introduces a new song that you haven't really seen on your personal journey yet. And then once you successfully pass the concert, then you just get introduced to a new recommended song list, and it's basically like rinse or repeat. And as far as I could tell, there was no end game here. Eventually I made it through all the songs, and it started recommending the same songs that I've played previously, but just on a higher difficulty level. Now, as you are gaining reputation, you do kind of quote unquote level up, which basically gives you a new title. Obviously, you'll get better venues as well. You'll also unlock like new guitars that you can play on, and you'll unlock new mods for your amp. So they do have a almost like freestyle mode where you can like modify your amp how you want your guitar to sound, and then you can just kind of like practice as if you had plugged your electric guitar into an amp. Which is cool and all, but I think if I just was going to freestyle, just play my electric guitar, I'd just plug it into my actual amp rather than booting up my PlayStation 3. But it is a fun little thing to do when you aren't really ready to commit to playing another song and you just want to jam for a little bit. What's fun about this game as well is like when the song is loading, it also just lets you, kind of play on the guitar and play little riffs that you know. Difficulty-wise, I think, I remember when I first picked up a Guitar Hero guitar, and when they introduced the 4th fret, that orange fret, I had to keep like looking at the guitar and like remembering what that was. And then when I increased the difficulty, they introduced the blue fret, and then you have to like slide your whole hand down 1 fret, and I had to keep on looking at the guitar. And so you can imagine exactly like how difficult this would be if you have 6 different strings and potentially, 20 different frets on each of these strings. The possibilities are endless. Now, each string is color-coded, similar to the buttons on a Guitar Hero guitar, and then they just slide down the number of the fret that they want you to play. Going into this, I was very bad, but I knew with practice I would potentially get better. Unfortunately, I never got to the expert level where I never had to look at my guitar at all, and this was especially complicated when I would encounter a chord that I did not recognize, and whenever that occurred, I would have to like actually pause the game, check out what the chord was, where they wanted me to place my fingers, and then unpause, play the chord. And sometimes it would get quite overwhelming if they're having you play really fast on lots of different strings with lots of different frets, like some of those crazy solos where you're you're all the way up to fret 15 through 20, it could still get pretty complicated even after like 20 hours of gameplay. I couldn't quite wrap my head around it being instinctual, the same way that I got with Guitar Hero or Rock Band. And to be honest, my motivation to really get good with this game deflated around the 15-hour mark. You know, the problem with any of these rhythm-based games is you're not going to enjoy the game as much if you just don't enjoy the song that you're playing it to. And I actually liked a decent amount of songs that they had available to me. I mean, even if you like 50% of the songs that are available to you, that's still a really high amount in my opinion for a rhythm-based game. But when you're actually trying to play the real guitar for these songs that you don't like, it's not that fun. And that's one of the major differences between playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band versus playing Rocksmith is if you're playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band, this is kind of the fantasy that you're living out. These are the songs available to you. If you don't want to play these songs, then you're either going to have to buy extra songs of songs that you do like, or you're just kind of out of luck. Compare this to actually playing a real guitar with Rocksmith. Yes, you can actually buy extra songs for songs that you do like, but also you could just not play it on the game, look up the tabs, or follow a YouTube tutorial and follow and learn how to play a song that you really do like, that you do want to learn at your own pace. You get to a point where it's just like, why am I setting this up all the time for songs that I'm not interested in? And I mean, there are some potentially frustrating moments, even especially if it's with a song that you don't like, where maybe you don't score the required points in order to progress in your journey, and you have to keep playing that song that you don't like, or that song that's really difficult. Even I had some troubleshooting issues where some songs would have you tune the thickest string, the one that's the deepest sound. They would have you tune that down for certain songs and up for others as you tune your guitar for the song that you're playing. And I don't know if this was an issue with my guitar or with the game, but when I would have songs where they have me tune that thickest string down, it was off, and I would have to manually like fine tune it until it recognized that I actually was playing the correct fret on that string. But I mean, don't get me wrong, when I am playing those 50% songs that I do like, it was fun playing along, and I could potentially see myself really mastering those songs that I do like, because I do like that visual feedback of the notes falling down and telling you exactly when to play which note. But this also brings me to another issue between the fantasy that is Guitar Hero and the reality that is Rocksmith, where Guitar Hero, you have these different difficulties. So if I choose to play a song on easy mode with Guitar Hero, it kind of fills in the notes that I'm not playing. So I'm still getting the fantasy of being a really awesome guitarist without actually having to do the work. And in Rocksmith, it's all you. So if you're messing up or you're not playing all the notes that are required, it doesn't sound nearly as good because it's not filling in that gap to lead you to that fantasy, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. This leads me to one of my other complaints, is the difficulty itself. As far as like the journey goes, it doesn't let me manually choose the difficulty I want to be on. It has a fluctuating difficulty. And so if I'm performing really well, if I'm hitting all the notes at the correct time, then it provides more notes. It kind of ramps up that difficulty, which provides me more means to earn more points, and I can play actually all the notes that are in the song. And if I'm doing poorly, I can sometimes visually see the song gets progressively easier, where it reduces the amount of notes that is required for me to play. And I really just don't like this fluctuating difficulty, because maybe I encounter a certain section on a song with a riff that I know really well and I can play really well, but maybe the solo is really difficult. Well, I play these riffs really well because I've memorized them, and then that solo comes and it assumes that I'm an expert player, and then it just hits me, it bombards me with all these notes, and it feels overwhelming. Compare this to other times where I hit a really difficult section of a song and it thinks that I'm a really bad player, and then it dumbs it down too much and I'm just playing like one note every second, and it doesn't sound at all like the actual song. And maybe this is a setting that I can change where it doesn't fluctuate the difficulty and I can manually choose the difficulty, but as far as like the default settings that I played on, I just didn't like these fluctuating difficulties, just because like sometimes it's mind-numbingly easy and other times it's overwhelmingly difficult, and I just think that it would have been a lot more manageable if I could actually determine myself what difficulty I can handle this particular song. The audience looks weird, I'm just gonna say it. So if you can see from the footage, it's almost like they recorded these actual humans like slightly bobbing their head or smiling or jamming out to your song, and it's almost like they just layered all of these flat videos of these people into the audience, and it does not look great. I mean, obviously you're not looking at the audience most of the time, you're actually looking at the notes that you're required to play, but still, you know, when you're in between songs, it's kind of jarring looking at all these flat people just bobbing their heads and smiling at you. So, I don't know. Overall, I really do actually like the idea of this game, and I was really excited to play it. I mean, who wouldn't want to play Guitar Hero but with a real guitar? But in actual execution, I think this falls pretty short because you can just play your guitar without all the hookups and setting up your game console and go at your own pace. So I'm of two minds. I think I'm gonna give this game a 2 out of 5. But again, your experience is going to vastly vary depending on how much you like the songs that are available to you, how good you are at the guitar, and how dedicated you are to practice the actual game. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Rocksmith, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!